Okay, and it is time to revisit the White Shadow Castle Guard. I know that Global is getting it released, or if you're seeing this video, I'm most likely gonna be after release, and I have previously made a similar one after Metus got released a few months ago on the NA server. But in that one, I sort of touched very surface level information, mostly about how the boss's attacks work and the strategy to beat it. In this one, I'll go more in depth. First of all, I'll explain how it works. Second of all, I'll cover all of his attacks and what they do, so you could understand how to dodge them. And the most important thing is actually how to manage his attacks, because if you cannot manage his attacks, there is a very good chance the run will either fail or will take like a minute longer. So I do recommend watching on it if you are not familiar with what I'm talking about in terms of attack management for this dungeon. Then I will cover this sort of cheat phase, I guess, called the arm skip, basically making the dungeon easier. However, it will only work if you are able to do enough damage, so I'll cover that. Then, after all of those attacks are done, why is there a running little cat here? Okay, after that, I will cover the basic strategy behind the dungeon, so basically what sort of units to bring, what sort of debuffs you need, buffs you need, stuff like that, and lastly, the teams that you can think of. I will not list every single unit or anything like that, I'll just give you a general understanding on what units work well or what's basically needed for this dungeon to work. Okay, so first of all, how the dungeon works. In this dungeon, once you enter, okay, so this is what happens when you enter the dungeon. First, I'll try to showcase the dungeon itself, and then I'll explain how everything works. So once you enter the dungeon will start once you cross this line, and the boss will start attacking once you cross this line. As you can see, first, I was the one who is getting targeted, so I'm getting 2 of the hits. I, of course, asked my teammates to not hit the boss just to showcase how it works fully. You'll see the normal runs in a second. So he first of all shoots 2 of those circle attacks. Later on, he will shoot this little wave in either left side or the right side, based on where I was at that time, meaning that the boss will basically target the person that entered first for the very first phase. After that, it will become random. So he shot the first phase, he shot the second phase, he will shoot the third phase at the very end right there. After this, he'll drop one of his arms in one of the sides, and he will drop his main arm in the other side. Once that arm is dropped, your goal is to destroy this arm as soon as possible. You have some time to destroy it. As you can see, there is a bar right here, and basically you have to destroy it until the bar gets empty. If you fail to destroy it, he'll launch an ultimate attack. And trust me, you do not want to get hit by an ultimate attack, because if you do, well, I'll give you a showcase on how you will look like just after the attack. And also, if you think that being paid to win and having very strong monsters will prevent you from doing that, yes, your outcome will be different, and it will look something like this. So yeah, in short, you don't want to be getting hit by that ultimate, because there is a very good chance that, well, you will have to restart the run basically. So yeah, just gonna let it finish out for a bit. Well, not until the very finish, but just to get an idea of how it works. So as you can see, he'll keep dropping these arms if you don't do enough damage, but those arms aren't really deadly, and as soon as you see the arm, just make sure to target it. Once you kill it, you can go back to hitting the boss, and it will be just as easy as previously was. Okay, so now I'll go into more in depth on how each of the attack works and what it does, how to manage them, and why and how to avoid them. Alright, so starting from the very beginning, this is the point where the first person who enters will be basically the enter lead. I don't know how to call it. Basically, the first person enters and the other 2 will get teleported to this zone. But the dungeon will not start just yet. The dungeon will only start once you cross this line. And once you cross this line, the first person who crosses this line will be the one getting targeted. And as the one getting targeted, your job is to manage the boss's attack so that, first of all, your allies don't get hit, and second of all, that you have a good setup for killing the boss. And this is especially important for cleave users. So if you are playing cleave or you are playing with a party who has a cleave, you should manage these attacks, because for cleaves it's extremely impossible to pretty much hit the boss if you do not manage the wave correctly. For other summoners it will be a little bit easier, but even then, if you screw up really badly with the wave management, the run will take a lot longer. That does not mean you will lose, it means that you will be sitting there for an extra minute or two until you learn how to manage these waves. And this is super important. I still see this happen even in a few months old servers, so trust me, you don't want to ruin your runs like that. Okay, so how to manage the waves. It's pretty simple actually. It contains sort of two steps. First of all, if you're the one managing the wave, you enter this, you like cross this line, and you have to get these two bubble attacks that the boss shoots away from the boss. Meaning that if you are the one getting targeted, you should not go attack the boss. You should walk around this area. You can walk wherever, as long as it's not close to the boss, you will be alright. The reason why is because if you place, well, the second bubble will of course be, or rather the first bubble will be placed somewhere further. If you place the second bubble here, you will realize that once you're reaching the part where he shoots the waves, so right here, if you place your bubble too close to the boss, first of all, to attack the boss, you pretty much have only this range. It does not extend any further than that. So if you place your bubble right here and he shoots the first wave right here, you will not have a spot to attack him at all. And especially if you're doing speedruns, you will not be able to arm skip a lot. And arm is basically one of the main phases, which I'll explain how to do further. Yeah, so to manage it, you don't want to be getting hit by attacks. So these two circles, you should walk around the sort of this half circle, I suppose. This is a good spot to manage those attacks. So either go somewhere along this line or even further from the line. Don't go any closer to the boss. You will miss out on a little bit damage in the start, but your other two teammates can start hitting the boss, so it will not be that crucial. And then, since you have managed the attacks well, as you can see, this was decently managed. I just went in to explain how it works. We're not even hitting the boss at first. But this would be possible because you still have melee range here, and even Orbia and Kina can go into melee range and attack the boss. So it will not be any trouble. But if this circle was anywhere closer to the boss, the run would pretty much be ruined, at least for the start, and it will take way longer. And the main reason why you need to manage attacks is because now I'll explain what the attacks do. So this circle, if you stand in it, every second that you stand in the circle, this is especially harmful for the summoner, all units that stand in the circle will receive level 2 bleeding damage over time effect every second, as well as if your summoner is standing, every second you will start losing 1 mana, meaning that if you stand in it for long enough, not only will you be dying to damage over time effect on all of your units, but also you will not be able to use Soul Link units skills at all, because your mana will be pretty much drained to 0. So yeah, these should be avoided at all costs. This is extremely deadly and you should not leave neither yourself nor your units in it. Now this attack goes in large waves. So first of all, it hits the person who entered first. So it will either hit the left side or the right side. For me, it hit her right side since I was in the left for the beginning. After that, it will shoot 2 waves in the opposite side. So no matter where I am, even if I stand right here, the boss will, as you can see, I'm standing here, but the boss will continue with his regular pattern. He'll shoot 1 here, and he'll shoot 1 at the very end. And this attack acts similar to the little bubble circle thingy. And every second that you stand in it, you take some damage, and you also get a level 2 defense break and level 2 attack break on all the units that are standing there. So while this may not be too harmful to your summoner, if your main damage dealer receives level 2 attack breaks, meaning that even if he stands there for 1 second, his damage will drop significantly. And trust me, that significant damage drop will be pretty much the game over for the arm skip if you're going for it. And you'll have to do a regular run, you'll have to heal up, you'll have to cleanse up. And it will just get messy, especially if you're going for speed runs or maybe no healer runs. So yeah, do not step into those. If you can see that you're attacking right here, for example, the arm shoots the little wave right here. You should not dash into it as soon as possible. You should wait for like 2-3 seconds. Once the boss is about to shoot the second wave in the other side, you should dash over to here and keep attacking the boss. So he will shoot here, he will shoot the last one there. And by that time, you either arm phase skip or not. And I'll explain how to do the phase skip as well. After those 3 waves, he will shoot another arm right here. This one is just a very similar, or not similar, but very simple attack. It applies crit rate down in a very big range, meaning that if it touches your summoners, not summoners, or rather the monsters, usually the damage will go down a bit because they will be missing critical hits. But yeah. As you can see, my units got hit for a second, like a split second right there. Let me just quickly see. There you go. I see they got hit, but they dodged in time, so basically it doesn't apply. And on the other side, the main arm drops, and this arm, as I explained, you will need to kill it in this specified amount of time. The time is around 15 to 20 seconds. I'm not sure of the exact time. But basically our goal is to kill that arm. If you kill that arm, the boss will go back to his regular phase. He will start shooting bubbles, he will start shooting those wave attacks. So don't forget to dodge those as well. And just as previously, it will be a bit harder because it will be harder to see. But if you're the one getting targeted by those circles, you should move away. This is a bit difficult to attack with, but you still have 2 sides where you can attack it. So it's not too bad, it is just annoying that it's in the circle because you will have to dash over, you will lose maybe 1 mana, your units maybe will get bleeding level 2. But yeah, if you manage to quickly dodge back for the second circle, and he usually even shoots 3 circles sometimes, you will be able to manage those correctly. So yeah, as you can see, units of course sometimes are stupid, so they will go into it. And yeah, another arm appears, you beat that arm, you beat the boss, and it just repeats until you sort of kill the boss. And now I'm gonna cover something called the arm skip, and this is a strategy that allows you to beat the boss way faster by completely skipping the arm phase that you can see right here. And the way you skip that arm phase is by actually doing a lot of damage in the very beginning. So yeah, for the arm skip, we also did the same run with the same people, so shout out to these 2 people. We went full damage, as you can see, no healers or anything like that, 2 Argents, a Bastet, attack speed buffs, lots of nukers, like 6 attackers, 2 Orbeus on top of that, so plenty of damage. And the way arm skip works is when you are entering the dungeon, of course you still have to manage waves, don't forget this, no matter which strategy you use, managing waves is super important. So I entered first. I know that my damage is pretty much the lowest, so I usually like to get the targeting while my damage dealers do the damage. So yeah, we shot those 2 waves, and to successfully arm skip this dungeon, meaning that you will completely skip the boss shoving his arm down, and if you do enough damage, that will make the run way easier. And it will actually make the run way more simple as well, not only in difficulty wise, but also in how it works wise, because you just have to attack the boss and that's it, really. So if you are able to arm skip, I would recommend getting a consistent lobby that can arm skip, especially with your friends or guildies, because with randoms it's sometimes a bit easier, but a few weeks into the game, most of the public lobby will be able to arm skip. So yeah, to arm skip, you will need to do around 30% or more damage before the boss's arm drops. So if you remember, the boss will shoot 2 circles, 3 waves, then he'll do 1 arm that doesn't land and the second main arm by then. If before he shoots the main arm you drop the boss to around 70% or lower, he will actually not even do the arm attack and instead go to the next phase. And if you do even more damage, you are able to actually skip more attacks. And in this run, you will notice that we did enough damage that the boss didn't even shoot a third wave. So I'll let the run play out. So yeah, you still do dodge those because those waves will lower the damage a lot. But as you can see, we're already at 64%, and the boss, because we did that much damage, the boss didn't even drop the third wave. Instead, he'll shoot his regular attacks. No arm, no nothing, making the run way easier. So if you are able to do arm skip, I highly recommend doing it because first of all, it's way more mechanically simple. And second of all, it will make the runs way faster because killing arms is a bit dangerous. The damage you get, the bleeding you get from it is a little complicated to manage, especially if you're going no healers. If you are able to do this, you can quickly get the dungeons over with arm skips. Basically, if you're able to do enough damage, usually your runs will be below 1 minute. With the regular arm runs, they will be of course a bit longer because you do need to kill that arm multiple times usually, and it will be like 2 minutes, maybe even 3 minutes if you're a bit lower on the damage side. So yeah, this pretty much covers how to arm skip and how to manage attacks. And the last thing I'll do is basically the teams that I recommend bringing, or the units, the debuffs, the buffs, everything like that. Okay, so for the teams, or rather the buffs that you need, I mean, teams are very sort of interchangeable as long as you have the correct debuffs and buffs, so you should be able to beat it regardless of the unit. But yeah, the basic strategy for this is really pretty simple. You need one buff and one debuff, and as long as you have those, you will pass the dungeon pretty easily. Anything else will help you even more, but it's definitely not needed, at least for this dungeon, once you get the hang of it. So first of all, this is a must, of course. You will need attack up, and there are different attack up units. So in the beginning, you will most likely have your Shannon build. She's a great starter unit, however, she does not have any sustain, so be careful of that, especially if you're getting hit by those circle attacks sometimes for like a second or two, or getting hit by the wave, because those will slowly chunk your HP, but if you get hit by a lot, you will eventually die. So while she is good for both defense break and attack buff, be careful with using her, and at least either bring a shield unit or a healed unit in your team. Another amazing unit that you can use is actually Bastet, and Bastet, I'm not sure if you have already received the event or will receive it in the future, but Bastet is one of the best attack buffers for this dungeon, and the reason why is, first of all, her attack buff is the same as Shannon, level 2, and if you're having multiple people with Bastet, you will be able to stack that attack up even higher. Second of all, the reason why she is good for this dungeon is she provides a shield, and if you've watched my Bastet video, you will know that I refer to the shield as a secondary health bar, because it basically provides a temporary health bar to any unit. So if your nuker has 30,000 HP, she can provide another 15,000 shield sort of second health bar. Since damage over time does damage the shield first, if you keep refreshing that shield, unlike with Shannon, you will actually be able to not take any damage and even make use of this passive if you manage to. So Bastet, way better than Shannon, unless you're really struggling with defense break options, in which case Shannon is still usable. Now I won't cover any other attack buff options. There are a lot, some of them are net 5, some of them net 4s. I would say a shout out to this guy because he can also both attack up and a defense break with his third skill, but I personally haven't seen him used much, and since he requires a lot of resources to build, it will be a little bit more difficult. For any other attack buffers, you can look into the attack up search skill menu. I do recommend that the attack up you bring works on the whole team and your allies, not just yourself, because that will be way more useful. But yeah, for attack up, make sure to bring it. And the second most important effect is a debuff called the defense down. This will greatly lower the defense of a boss, meaning that you will be able to do probably like up to double more damage than you are doing to him regularly. And the best, and by far the best unit for that is a 3-star unit that you have been hopefully picking from the light and dark ticket. And if you haven't, oof, it will be a bit rough, but let's hope that your teammates do have him. And it's the Dark Harpy. So her third skill, not only does she provide defense down with her skill, she also provides damage taken up, which is sort of another damage increasing effect. So on top of doing the defense down, pretty much doubling the damage, you're doing another 30% more damage. So it increases a lot. And the good thing about this unit is not only she shoots this, she also uses Sign of Death 2 times, and Sign of Death is basically the same skill, meaning that whenever you shoot this skill, you have a chance to apply level 3 defense break and level 3 damage taken up. This will set up the boss, even one skill for this will set up the boss way more than you need to nuke it really fast. Important note for Hellier users, if you are like the single Hellier user or the single defense breaker on the team, do run her as a Soul Link slot, because if you don't, there is a good chance that you will be missing the defense break in time, especially on the arm, and having the ability to shoot that defense break whenever you need it will prove way more useful than having any other unit, even for units like Bastet. And if you do want to run, for example, a Bastet or any other buffer as a Soul Link unit, at least make sure to have your skill maxed out, which allows you to quickly switch between units. Let me see which one it is. This one. So at least make sure that you have this sort of maxed out. So at max level, you can switch your units every 1 second. At like level 1, I think it's like 30 seconds. So you do need upgrades on that. I would say to be safe, have like at least 5 seconds cooldown on that skill. And yeah, for other options, I'm quickly looking over at what there is, but oh, I know that the Dark Inogami is an amazing defense breaker for it. If you have Argen and have already built him, he will be a good defense breaker as well. He won't do as much damage with this first skill, but at least you will be able to set up your team for it. What other options are there? The Galleon, of course, I mentioned. Annabelle is a decent option, especially if you're running on the safer side, because she also provides healing for it. And yeah, other units you can look up into here. I'm not gonna go detailed over all of them, and we'll jump into any other effects that are useful. Okay, so a few extra effects that are useful for the boss. Of course, the damage taken up. With it, you will be giving even more damage, and probably the easiest way to get it is by using a Hellier, so I highly recommend it. If you do not have Hellier or, for example, the the Dark Inogami, most other options are nat 5s, so do be careful about using them, especially if not skilled, and Hellier will of course be the easiest to skill. So if you want another boost to your damage, definitely use a Hellier. Then another effect that is pretty decent is the, where is it? Let me quickly find it. Crit damage up. Only one unit has this effect, the other two only self buff. So it's the Wind Jack-o'-lantern, and on the second skill he has a skill called crit damage taken up, and at level 2 it also increases your crit damage by 80%. This skill is amazing for this run. For this dungeon rather, but of course it's also a nat 5 unit, so if you're starting early on, you will not be able to skill it up fully. However, if you do have him and you have him close to max, I do recommend using him as well. And the last thing is, if you're using units that do benefit from attack speed, so for example, if you're using the Fire Raven, which pretty much scales with attack speed a lot, you can also go for an attack speed buffer. So some options for it are, I think the Water Kina element actually has it. One of the better options is of course the, the Wind Bernard. This guy, not only he boosts your movement speed, but also boosts your attack speed, allowing you to not only dodge those attacks a bit easier, but also attack a lot faster. And another amazing support is Crowa. This skill not only will boost attack speed, but also crit rate, meaning that you even need lower tier runes to build your monsters to the fullest potential. I can potentially go for more attack or crit damage. And yeah, that's about it for the effects that I do recommend. For damage dealers, I won't touch on them too much. There are different types of damage dealers and there are plenty of them, so I'm not gonna list all of them. I personally really like the Karambit. I think he's free from the monster study. Another great option if you're very early on is the the Wind Cat, because she has a passive which scales with amount of debuffs the boss has, meaning that you increase your crit and crit damage by a lot. And if you do bring her, make sure to spam this skill at all times. For other options, especially if you use selective summoning, so you can use Brandia. She is sort of a boss killer and she will work very well in this boss as well. You can also use Karambit, not Karambit, I already mentioned Karambit, come on. You can also use Argen. Hopefully you picked Argen. I think like he's the best choice by far from the selective summons. And he will do a lot of damage with this skill, as well as he will allow you to set up the boss with this skill. So sort of shooting two stones with one bird. There we go. That's the quote of the farmer, yeah? You're shooting 2 stones with 1 bird. I remember that for a long time, please. And yeah, other damage dealers, just see what you have in your box and just use whatever does the most damage. And for summoners, I'll quickly cover all summoners as well. So if you are a cleave user, I recommend going with either the water element or the fire element for this. Light is also decent, but there's a good chance that you will not have good light weapons yet, because those are a bit rare. So water will allow you to do a lot of debuffs, and for people who have damage dealers who stack with debuffs, this will help a lot. Pretty similar to fire, you are able to do heal block and bleeding effect on the fire element, which will allow those people to do a little bit more damage. For Orbia, there's only one element which you should bring, and if you bring any other element, trust me, people will hate you, and you should run the wind element, because the wind element allows you to defense break as well as damage taken up on your 3rd skill. I think the defense break is on the 2nd skill, and the damage taken up is on the 3rd skill. And if you're running Orbia, regardless of the weapon, regardless of the stats on the weapon, please bring a wind element, because you will be missing out on a lot of damage. And for Kina, you should opt out for either the fire or the water one. I would say the water one is even better, because attack speed will be way rarer than attack up, and with the Bastet event you will have plenty of attack up options, but for attack speed, if you're able to get at least that level 1 attack speed, you will boost your damage by a lot. And yeah, that's about it for the guide. If you do have any questions about it, about strategies, units, whether they are good or bad, make sure to drop them in the comments. I will be more than happy to help you, as I've been farming this dungeon for like 3 months already, and at this point I'm just trying to find the best ways to maximize the damage. And yeah, if you enjoyed, make sure to sub, because I will be uploading more stuff like this in the future. And yeah, peace.